Big day in college football. Big, big, big day. Did not have a live schedule for today, but whenever something like this happens, I gotta go live. By the way, y'all let me know about noise because quick history about my house. All right. So, first part of my house was built, and then our big bedroom was built after that. So, it was built separately. So, I have an air conditioning unit for the first part of the house and then a separate air conditioning for the room. That's how big it is. I'm able to have a studio in here. But the AC broke, so I have a fan on me because it's the hottest part of the day. I'm pretty sure y'all can hear it, but is it tolerable? Is the fan too much? I tried to make it to where I had it angled to where you couldn't hear it, but if it's too loud, then I can angle it again. But it's really hot in here because the AC for this particular room is down. Seriously. But yeah, big time day for college football. I think that the Big Ten just outdid the SEC. I think that the Big Ten getting UCLA and USC is bigger than the SEC getting Oklahoma and Texas. Is the fan okay for you guys? Is it too loud? Is it distracting? Okay, Traveling Full says he can't hear it all, so we're good. If anybody else can and it's distracting, let me know in the comments and I'll try to see what I can do. But I need the fan. It's hot in here. That's just my opinion. I really do think that the Big Ten has outdone the SEC. The reason that is now the Big Ten is the first official Power 5 conference coast to coast. Think about that, guys. The first Power 5 conference to go coast to coast, the Big Ten. Now the Big Ten can get anybody. They are coast to coast. They can get East Coast, they can get West Coast, and they can get anybody in between. And I'm not saying the SEC can't do that. Of course, they have money. But for the move itself, this move is bigger than the SEC getting Oklahoma and Texas. Another reason why it's bigger, it's because the hands that are going to be forced now. So the SEC getting Oklahoma and Texas, yes, it made the Big 12 freak out, and they had to go and get Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, and BYU, correct? But with the Big 10 going out and getting UCLA and USC, these other conferences are now forced to make some moves. Now, y'all know me. I've been talking about the ACC getting Notre Dame and West Virginia. They better do it now. Like, they don't have a choice. If they don't get Notre Dame and West Virginia, they're done. The ACC is done if they don't make a move. I didn't know which order all this stuff was going to happen. So the timing, I couldn't figure out the timing. So I didn't know if the ACC was going to make the first move or the Big Ten or whoever. But now we're seeing that conferences don't care where teams are. Big Ten now coast to coast. They can grab teams out of the Big 12 if they want to. Kansas, we love your basketball brand. Come on, we'll take you. Oklahoma State. Let's just stick a little needle in the SEC and get the rival of Oklahoma. Come on, Cowboys, we'll take you just to spite the SEC. That's why I think this move is bigger than the SEC's move. Quick reminder, like I do every live show, if you haven't, please hit the like button. That's not a pat on the shoulder or anything. Basically, hitting the like button gets this video to hit the YouTube algorithm. When that happens, it gets suggested more people click on it, and we have a bigger audience. So basically, hitting the like button helps grow the video. I try to emphasize that every live show because we want to reach a bigger and bigger audience. So if you haven't, please hit the like button. It helps the video a lot. I actually wonder why a lot of live shows don't emphasize that, because it's very important in growing your video. All right, so there was your public service announcement. But college football, I think to be honest with you, I think today's move has changed college football more so than what the SEC did, because it's strict, like nothing's off limits now. Okay, so with the SEC getting Oklahoma and Texas, that was huge, and it's still huge. Big time moneymakers, big brands, but they were still, the SEC still kind of kept in a certain box. They stretched a little more west, a little farther west. Big brands, great move, SEC. I'm not talking down to the SEC, not at all. But the Big Ten's like, screw that. We're going all the way to the West Coast. And by the way, guys, I'm still hearing that the Big Ten is going to grab Washington and Oregon. That's what I'm hearing. So they're not done yet. I don't know when that news is going to break. I would guess since UCLA and USC announced that they're leaving by 2024, that whenever the announcement does come, that Oregon and Washington say, hey, we're out in 2024 as well. So, yeah, I'm really hearing that talk specifically today really bubble up and heat up. So, Washington, Oregon will be going to the Big Ten. I don't know when that's going to break, though. So if you have any questions or you want to troll me, anything like that, you can super chat me. That's the little $ on your bottom right-hand corner. Just click on that, leave me a comment, and I will address whatever your question is or whatever your comment is, anything like that. Any predictions you want to let me know, do it through super chat, and we greatly appreciate all the support here at Golden Blue Dude. And another thing about this is it affects the conferences that's losing the teams. This is probably worst case scenario for the Pac-12. Worst case scenario for the Pac-12. So they are now down to 10 teams, and I think they'll be down to 8 here in the next couple weeks, because I expect Oregon and Washington to announce that they're going to the Big Ten as well. Pac-12 doesn't have any choices. This is what happens when you sit around hoping things happen. You don't go out. And it really surprises me, because the Pac-12 actually did go out and get Colorado and Utah during the first realignment. So the fact that they sat back and did nothing after bigger realignment started happening baffles me. Why? Why would you do that? And I think it was a major mistake for them to look down on BYU and say, you're not coming into the Pac-12 because of your religion. That was stupid. But besides that, the Pac-12 needed to do what the Big Ten and the SEC has done. Get other teams from Power 5 conferences. They could have gone after a Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. Kansas would have been a big get for the Pac-12. The Kansas basketball brand is really, really good. They just won the national championship. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. If they would stop this religious nonsense, they could have went after Baylor. Baylor's stock right now is at an all-time high. Baylor could probably get an invite from anybody right now, to be honest with you, except for the Pac-12, because they're idiots over there. Idiots. It doesn't make any sense. The decisions and the way they make their decisions, it just doesn't make any sense. Not at all. So losing UCLA and USC, and I'm telling you guys, Oregon and Washington, next on the docket, they will be going to the Big Ten. So they will have 4 open spots that they're going to have to replace. And that's if they don't lose anybody else. I mean, the Arizona schools, they could go to the Big 12. Colorado, Utah, they could go to the Big 12 or the Big 10 or the SEC, whoever. Nothing's off the menu now. Nothing is off the menu. Nothing. All right, let's say it stops at 4, okay? They only lose UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington. It stops right there. You have 8 teams, right? Who are you going to get, Pac-12? San Diego State? I mean, they're up and coming, but nowhere close to replacing a USC or UCLA or an Oregon or Washington. What about Boise State? Well, you've thumbed your nose to them many, many times. They're actually looking to go to the Big 12. Who is there? There's nobody unless you pick off the Big 12, but I don't think you have the balls to do that right now. I don't. Sorry. So the Pac-12 is out of options. So we're looking at the Pac-12 losing their Power 5 status. They're going to lose more teams. This was just another domino that's fallen over. More dominoes are coming, guys. Make no mistake, this is not the end of this. Not by a long shot. Now, whenever the breaking news happens, of course, there's always a shock factor. Hey, can you believe it actually happened? Blah, blah. And I get that, but I've been trying to tell y'all for the past 8 to 9 months all this stuff. I didn't know the timing. I didn't know which domino was going to fall to the next. I didn't know the order, any of that stuff, but I knew this was happening because of the talks that I was hearing from really good sources from behind closed doors. All these conversations and all these deals are being done behind closed doors, and then they announce it. I just happen to be lucky enough to have guys that know the guys behind the closed doors. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to give out the timing or anything like that. No, that's not how it works. And a lot of people, Golden Blue Dude, I don't believe you unless you reveal your sources. Yeah, and then they don't become my sources anymore. That's how it works. If you have a source and they say, hey, I'm going to tell you something, but you can't tell where you heard it from, and I tell where I heard it from, that's it. That source is gone. They don't trust me. It's not happening anymore. So I got a lot of pushback from you're not revealing your sources, so it must not be true. Hey, if that's what you want to think, that's your right. But I'm not going to burn any bridges and get rid of some really, 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 really good sources just because people trash talk me. Call me clickbait dude. Call me, the guy that has sources but never names the sources. That's fine. That's fine. I've known that this stuff is eventually going to come out. So I just keep doing my thing. And whenever there's nothing new to talk about, then I start dialing it back. Maybe I'll send out a reminder, every, 4 or 5 weeks just to keep people thinking about it, but nothing new to report. And then something like this happens. And the great thing about what happened today was the content that it gets me. Now, a lot of college football YouTubers, they do have a little bit of an issue in the offseason because it's, there's no games to talk about. But I'm telling you, there is plenty. If ESPN can do it every day, anybody can do it every day, okay? John Waffle H2P, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. He says, so if you know people on the inside, is Pitt going to the Big Ten? Not that I know of. I have not heard anything about Pitt going to the Big Ten. Does that mean that they're not going to Big Ten? Of course not. They could be, but I haven't heard it. Nobody's told me that. If I did, I would, trust me, I would make a video. That would be speculation on that point. At that point, is it possible? Very possible. I don't know how Penn State would feel about it, but they would have to get over it, I guess. But in this case, no, I haven't heard anything about Pitt going to the Big Ten. But today's news, what that does for a college football YouTuber like myself is it gives me content. Like I have, not just from what happened today, but from what you guys have commented on the video. Some stuff that I've already thought of, some stuff that I haven't. I'm like, oh man, that's a great idea right now. Literally, probably 10 video ideas have come out with just the news of today. 10. And there's probably going to be more whenever I look through the comments on the videos. So don't think that I'm not looking at your comments whenever I post these videos. I am. And it gives me video ideas. And so you guys are in on this too. It's not just me. You guys give me the ideas. By the way, if you're new to this channel and you've never heard of Golden Blue, what this got suggested. What the heck is going on? This is a college football YouTube channel. So here's what I'll say. If you're not a college football fan, don't subscribe. I just don't, because that's all I talk about. So if you're not a college football fan, do not subscribe. Go run away. But if you are a college football fan, hit the subscribe. I'm telling you, videos every day. Videos every day. So if you're into college football, hit the subscribe button for me. Which, by the way, we're having a great day so far because of this big news. I absolutely love big news days because that means a big day for me. So I appreciate the support for today. I think we gained 50 subscribers so far. So I'm very, very confident that we're going to hit 10,000 by the end of the year. We could hit 11,000 by the end of the year. So happy about that. And like I've said in my previous videos, there is a boom period. When you're doing college football YouTube, there is a boom period. Usually it's between the middle of July to early August, right before college football. People are salivating for college football. But we've tried to prepare ourselves for the boom period and have a mini boom period. And Christmas came early. We were having a mini boom period, then today happens, and now we're having an actual boom period. So that is awesome. So I'm going to make videos about what I'm about to talk about, but I wanted to give you guys a preview since you guys are supporting me through the live show. So the first thing that popped in my head when this news came out is the Alliance just went out the door. Think about that. Who is the Alliance made of? The Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC. And the Big Ten just raided the Pac-12. That alliance is no more, guys. So, yeah, one member just stabbed another member in the back. So that's the one repercussion that I didn't think in advance. So, and that's why I had hesitation whenever the alliance thing came out, because I had been hearing that the Big Ten was going after USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. So I fully expect to hear in the next couple of weeks that Oregon and Washington will also be making the move to the Big Ten. So keep that on the back burner. Oregon, Washington. Don't be surprised when the news comes out. I am telling you first here, just like I told you about Oklahoma and Texas going to the Big 12 and UCLA and USC. I just didn't know the order. Oregon and Washington will be going to the Big Ten. Okay? David Cummings, great supporter of Golden and Blue Dude. Thank you for the $10 super chat. He says, how do some of these schools, I know where this is going, how do some of these schools like Rutgers and Maryland and Illinois that don't produce a lot of revenue in back, you know what, I'm going to start doing this. Why am I not putting it on the screen? You guys are donating through super chat. I can at least do that for you. All right, so here we go. And I'll go back to yours, H2P. I completely whiffed on that. He says, how do some of these schools like Rutgers and Maryland and Illinois that don't produce a lot of revenue in basketball still fit in and make the cost to the that coast-to-coast trip? They're still making the money, and I agree with you, but there's nothing any of us can do about it. Basically, the grandfathered in effect. Now, the last example of somebody actually getting kicked out of a conference was Temple in the Big East. I'm pretty sure nobody can actually be kicked out of the Big Ten at this point because of grant of rights. I don't think grant of rights existed back then. In fact, I think that was one of the reasons why grant of rights was produced. Teams scared that they were going to get kicked out if they started to not produce. So is it fair? No. Can they swing it? Yes, because they're making Big Ten money. That's the short answer. If Maryland, Rutgers, and Illinois were not in the Big Ten and they were in the group of five, then no, they would not be able to make that coast-to-coast trip. And you think West Virginia's road trips in the Big 12 is bad. Wait till USC and UCLA have their road trips. Now, I know that the teams in the Big Ten will have to have road trips to USC and UCLA, but that's one, maybe two games out of the year. You flip that around, UCLA and USC, they're going to have like 5 or 6, well, maybe not 5 or 6, 4 or 5 road trips, jet lag, all that stuff. It's going to take some getting used to. It's going to take some getting used to. So let me go back to John Waffles because I forgot to put him on the screen. Here's what he said. I already addressed it, but I want to put him on the screen. He says, so if you know people on the inside, it's Pitt going to the Big Ten. I haven't heard anything about that. But I promise you, if I hear anything about Pitt going to the Big Ten, I think it's possible. I'm not sure how likely it is, but it's that. I mean, UCLA, USC going to the Big Ten. Anything is possible now, guys. Anything is possible. The Chico 499 super chat, appreciate it. He says, sad Temple fan. Oh man. I empathize with you, but I can't truly say I know how you feel because we've never been kicked out of a conference. Now, we were forced into making a decision because the Big East was in bad shape, but we had a landing spot. We had a Power 5 conference landing spot, luckily. And I'm still here. I know a lot of things has changed because, well, as far as people's takes on the situation, because, this changes a lot of stuff. But what I haven't heard different is West Virginia and Notre Dame to the ACC. However, I will add this. What I'm hearing is a bidding war for Notre Dame. This is what I'm hearing, okay? I don't know how true this part is, but I'm telling you, this is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that the SEC and the Big Ten and the ACC, all three want Notre Dame, and Notre Dame will have its choice. Now, I will say this. Notre Dame, their contract says if they join a conference, it has to be the ACC before 2036. So they could join the ACC, and then if things don't go the way they want to, get out in 2036 and, then make ridiculous money. You think money now is ridiculous? Wait till 10 years from now. It's going to be unfathomable. I wouldn't be surprised if teams would be making close to $500 million a piece. That would not surprise me. Joey Foster, I know that sounds crazy too, but I'm telling you, that's the direction we're headed in. Just the amount of money that they make in TV revenue, they will be compensated. Joey Foster, $5 super chat. Appreciate it. He says, support the live shows. Going to Bluetooth on PayPal or super chat. Absolutely. I do this full time. So, anything on PayPal or super chat is greatly, greatly appreciated. I know Joey will put the PayPal link in the comments as well. But yeah, today has changed a lot of things. The crazy thing for me is I knew it was going to happen, but it's not real. It doesn't feel real until it actually happens. So I knew this was going to happen. And then once this happens, it's going to change a lot of things. And that's exactly what's happening. Oregon and Washington, wait for it, guys. I'm letting you know right now, just like I did with USC and UCLA 6 months ago, it's coming. You're not going to have to wait 6 months for Washington and Oregon. That'll happen over this summer. I promise you that. That will happen over this summer. Don't be surprised. You're hearing it now. Now, it's still going to be a shock, and the Pac-12, man, I can't even imagine how Pac-12 fans are reacting right now. Unless Washington and Oregon fans already know. They're like, we're coming. We just got to wait a second to make our announcement. Well, we're coming with you. But what about Arizona State fans? They have to be freaking out. Utah fans freaking out. Colorado fans freaking out. Oregon State, Washington State fans most definitely freaking out. Cal fans freaking out. Stanford fans freaking out. Everybody but the teams that are leaving are freaking out. Now, there are 4 teams in the Pac-12 that need to be worried. 4. The other 8, you're going to be fine. You'll be picked up by somebody. But there are 4 teams that need to worry. And they are Washington State, you need to worry. Oregon State, you need to worry. Stanford, you need to worry. On a lesser degree, I think Stanford's more appetizing than these other 3. But on some degree, you need to worry. And Cal, you need to worry. Shane M. 1980, appreciate the $10 super chat. He says, between the transfer portal, NIL, and conference realignment, I feel like I'm watching my beloved sport die. Maybe things will be okay, just hard to see it at this moment. Well, let me reassure you of one thing. It's definitely not dying, okay? That's one thing. Now, as you knew it, yeah, that is dying. The way we knew college football as it was, that part of it, yes, I can confirm that part is dying. But college football is far from dying. It is turning into a multi-billion sport. College basketball, kind of the same boat, but in college basketball, it's kind of it's a different animal because there's no, quote, Power Fives. So it's a more even playing field. Now, college football is where things get crazy. So, yes, it's sad that college football, as we once knew it, is slowly fading away. I'm sad with you, okay? I'm not saying that I'm this is awesome, great, I love it. But there's an adjustment period whenever stuff like this happens, there's an adjustment period. Now we know how the fans of, let's say, the early 1920s up to about the 1940s felt. There was a big adjustment around the 1950s. Now we know how the fans of the 1950s all the way up to maybe the 1980s felt. And then this last era, which is where most of us fall in, the 1980s till now, that era is about to shift into the new era. It happens about every 20 to 30 years, so I'm not all that surprised, but the way it happened, how it happened, why it's happening, that's a different story. It's turned into all about money. Who can make the most money? Where do I fit in best as far as making money? Geography is out the window. That doesn't matter. UCLA, USC, they don't care about geography. They just want to make money. So this is my guess. I'm guessing that negotiations for the new Pac-12 deal have been ongoing, and UCLA and USC are like, I don't like these numbers. These are not good numbers. I do not like them. Let's explore some options. Because I promise you this, if the Pac-12 could have matched what the Big Ten can bring in, they would have stayed. Let's not get things twisted, okay? Don't get things twisted. It's not like they just hate the Pac-12 and they're like, screw you guys, we're going to the Big Ten. No, this was a money decision. If they could have made the same amount of money or more in the Pac-12, they would have stayed in the Pac-12, okay? So this was a strict money decision. Sensu YT says, what if the Big 12 folds and WVU can't join the ACC? Well, that's not going to happen. But I appreciate the $1.90 super chat. I can't say – I'm not saying that the Big 12 folding can't happen. What I am saying is West Virginia not having a landing spot is not going to happen. If they don't join the ACC, then it'll be the SEC. Fun fact, guys, and you can confirm this by doing your own research. West Virginia was on the dockets to get offered at the SEC. And the SEC was literally about to extend an invite to West Virginia. It was between West Virginia and Missouri. Those were the two schools. And the SEC decided, hey, we want West Virginia. ESPN stepped in and said, no, we want you to stretch your footprint a little farther west. Go get Missouri. If you want the money that we're given, go get Missouri. We want to stretch out west. So it's not like that. It's not like West Virginia hasn't been on anybody else's radar except for the Big 12. We were also on the ACC's radar, but at the time, Maryland was still in the ACC. Do your research on this as well, and you can confirm it. Maryland has been the entity that has blackballed West Virginia and convinced other institutions to say, no, we don't want West Virginia. Well, with Maryland out of the ACC, West Virginia can clear that hurdle. And then with the SEC, we already know that they were on the dockets last time. It's just that ESPN wanted to stretch a little farther west. West Virginia is fine. In fact, whenever I looked up the statistics for fan bases, West Virginia actually has the number 30 largest fan base when it comes to football. So if there was like a top 50, top 60, heck, even a top 40 cutoff, West Virginia would still make it. We have this stigma or this label put on us as, oh, that state only has 1.8 million. That's true, but we actually have the 13th largest fan base as far as percentage outside of the state of West Virginia. So you can't just go by the population of West Virginia. Most of our fan base is actually out of the state of West Virginia because the sad truth is poverty is pretty bad in West Virginia. You're either good to go or you're poor. The middle class is being slowly eroded in the state of West Virginia. So a lot of people, including myself, move out of the state of West Virginia to find better economy, better job opportunities, better living conditions. I actually live in the upstate of South Carolina, so I can attest to that. And even driving around in the upstate of South Carolina, I see a lot of West Virginia stickers. So next time you go out driving, actually look for West Virginia stickers, and you'll be surprised. Look for West Virginia gear. You'll be surprised. We're bigger than you think. Now, are we a USC, an Oklahoma, a Texas, a Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame? The list goes on. No, but we are top 30. Statistics, look it up. Top 30. In fact, exactly top 30. Number 30 in the nation in fan base size when it comes to football. Another quick reminder. I do this probably every 20 minutes or so. If you haven't hit the like button, please do so. When you hit the like button, it gets the video to hit the YouTube algorithm. It gets suggested more, and the audience grows. You can ask the people that have already hit the like button. We have 175 people watching right now. So those of you that are joining us, please take that quick second, hit the like button, and that's how we grow the video even larger. Congratulations to everybody that's already hit the like button. You have grown this video into one of the biggest live shows we've had so far. Plus, UCLA and USC going to the Big Ten. That's pretty big news. People are tuning into that. So like I mentioned earlier, the first thing that popped in my head, an alliance member stabbing another alliance member in the back, because remember, it was the Pac-12, the Big Ten, and the ACC in the alliance. Well, the Big Ten is now grabbing USC and UCLA out of the Pac-12, so they're stabbing their fellow member in the back. I don't know how relations between the Big Ten and the Pac-12 are now. Probably not very good, and more to come, by the way. Expect Oregon and Washington to make the jump, I would say, within the next couple of weeks. It might go farther than that, but from what I'm hearing, next couple of weeks, and it'll be 2024 as well. And like I mentioned earlier, the fan bases that need to worry: Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, and Washington State. You need to worry. Now, what about the other fan bases? Well, I've already talked about Washington, Oregon. They're going to the Big Ten. They're going to the Big Ten, all right? Mark it down. Expect the news. They are going to the Big Ten. Then there's the Arizona schools. Arizona State. Could the SEC come and swoop them in? Yeah, but I don't see that happening. I don't get me wrong, especially Arizona basketball. They definitely have value, but I don't think they have SEC value. Could the Big Ten come and swoop them up? Yeah, but once again, I just don't. I see the Big Ten stopping with Washington, Oregon, USC, and UCLA. What about the ACC? Yeah, and they do have value and would add and stretch the footprint. I just don't know if that would make sense for the ACC to do that. Big 12, that makes sense. By the way, I see you, Brandon Lester. Appreciate the $4.99 super chat. Thank you for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Big 12. And I've actually made a couple of videos, a couple of pitches for Arizona and Arizona State to be grabbed by the Big 12. And a lot of people are like, nah, that's not happening. Why would the Big 12 even do that? Why would the biggest argument was the Arizona schools love the Pac-12. They were not taking into consideration what I was telling them with UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington leaving. A lot of people, and it's okay, I'm not looking down on anybody, but most people, it's human nature, I'll believe it when I see it. So that's their approach. So Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA going to the Big Ten. Hey, I haven't seen it, so I don't believe it. Arizona and Arizona State want to stay in the Pac-12. We love the Pac-12. Well, now that you're seeing that what I've been telling you is happening, now the gears are going. Where do we fit in next? Because the Pac-12 is not going to find any brands to replace the brands that left. I mean, go out and get a Boise State and San Diego State, Colorado State, Utah State. I mean, yeah, the Pac-12 could do that, but it's not making up for the 4 that they lost. So best option for the Arizona schools would be the Big 12. And honestly, I think that would help with their recruiting. They would get better exposure. They wouldn't be stuck with the Pac-12 at night. That's been the one thing that's kind of killed the Pac-12 is, and it's not their fault because of the time zone, but they're the Pac-12 at night. And I'm an avid college football fan. I'm going to watch it. But all the casual, college football fans, Pac-12 is irrelevant. That's too late. Going to bed. So that's hurt the Pac-12 significantly. With the Arizona schools going to the Big 12, now they're put in a more favorable time zone. Instead of the West Coast time zone, now they're going to be lumped in with the Central time zone if this were to happen. So they get more TV exposure. Their recruiting is going to have an uptick. They're saying that the Big 12 is going to be making more money than they ever have, which they will, but it's not going to be comparable to like the Big 10 or the SEC. But that would be your landing spot, Arizona State. And I think you would be fine with that. I think you would be successful. I'm not sure about football because right now Arizona and Arizona State, I know you've done well over the past few years, but this year expect a nosedive. I'm telling you right now, I'm giving you warning. Arizona State, Sun Devils, I have nothing against you, but prepare yourself. You will take a nosedive. Herm Edwards, bunch of scandals going on. Jaden Daniels left to LSU, losing a lot of talent from the past few years. Recruiting, not so great because of the Herm Edwards thing. Expect a nosedive. Now, if they went out and got a good coach, they're in the Big 12, they could be a powerhouse. But right now, the Arizona schools are trying to get their feet underneath them. In basketball, Arizona versus Kansas, sign me up. That would be a great matchup. But let's be real. This is all football motivated because that's what makes the most money. Bottom line, my main point is I do think that Arizona and Arizona State would fit into the Big 12. I think Utah would fit in the Big 12. I think Colorado would fit in the Big 12. To some extent, I do think that Washington and Oregon State could fit in the Big 12 somehow. Those are the two. See, that's why I'm worried about the Washington States, the Oregon States, the Cals, and the Stanfords because they don't bring a lot of money, and they are way out west. In order for a way out west team to get invited from an East Coast or Middle Coast, they need more value than what I'm seeing in those 4 teams. I'm really worried about them, for real. Mayhem Matthew, I actually consider this guy a friend, but $5 super chat. Thank you for supporting the channel. He says, breaking news, Lincoln Riley has went to Bowling Green per reports. It was the right time to take the job for him and his family. That's sticking Lincoln Riley because a lot of people think, including myself, I'm not going to lie, a lot of people think that he bolted from Oklahoma to USC to avoid the SEC. Now USC is going to the Big 10. So real competition coming at you, Lincoln Riley. Will he jump ship again to avoid real Well, here's the thing, though. He was in the Big 12, and the Big 12 is not a Group of 5 conference, but it's definitely not the SEC, and it's definitely not the Big 10. So now we're definitely going to see how good of a coach Lincoln Riley really is because we were all thinking that, well, he's going over to the Pac-12. USC can crush the Pac-12. No problem. It's going to make him look better than what he really is. Wrong answer. They're going over to the Big 10, so he's going to be tested for real. So we're going to see what his manhood as far as coaching goes is really made of. The Chico, second super chat, $9.99. Appreciate it. He says, we got told this time last year the Big 12 was dead. You're correct. My prediction is that almost everyone stays, maybe 2 more leave. And they add Boise, Fresno, San Diego, and maybe 1 more. I like your prediction. And I was actually one of the YouTubers that took the bait on that one and was saying that the Big 12 is dead because it didn't look good. They took Oklahoma. The SEC took Oklahoma and Texas. And to the Big 12's credit, they actually went out and got 4 pretty good brands. They aren't known for making great reactions, although they did take West Virginia and TCU, but they lost 4 game 2. So if you keep on that trend, you're going to dwindle. But to the Big 12's credit, they lost Oklahoma, Texas, went out and got 4 decent brands. Now, does that replace mono Oklahoma, Texas? No, but it keeps them afloat. And I do think the Big 12 does lose a few more, but I think you're correct. They don't die because they will go out and get Boise State, San Diego State, Fresno State would be a good one. One more could be maybe a Utah State, Memphis. Memphis would be a good brand, and it would go a little farther east. So, yeah, for the most part, not for the most part, I 100% agree with you because, yes, I think the Big 12 will lose a couple members, mainly West Virginia. I know West Virginia and the ACC have been very interested in one another. But today I've also heard that the SEC is very interested in West Virginia. The names that I've heard with West Virginia, Notre Dame, Clemson, North Carolina, and then, of course, West Virginia, or Notre Dame, Clemson, Florida State, West Virginia, or Notre Dame, Miami, Clemson, and West Virginia. There was 3 names in what everybody was telling me that stayed the same, and that was Notre Dame, Clemson, and West Virginia. The names that shifted were North Carolina, Florida State, and Miami. So from what I'm hearing, I don't know how true this particular part is because I just started hearing this today. This isn't something that I've been hearing over the months, is that both the SEC and the ACC are interested in West Virginia, and that the ACC, the SEC, and the Big Ten want Notre Dame. That's probably a fact because Notre Dame is the biggest brand out there that's available. And that leads me into my next point. What I'm also hearing is that the Big Ten went out and got USC and UCLA to get Notre Dame. Because remember, Notre Dame has a big-time rival in USC. So one of the draws that the Big Ten is trying to lay out there by grabbing UCLA is USC is let's get Notre Dame while we're at it. Because, hey, we got your rival. We got your rival now. All you have to do is join us, and now it's a conference game every year. That could open up another non-conference for another team that you haven't played in a while that maybe you want to. Maybe a Boston College. Whenever I did my ACC protected 3 opponents, because what the ACC came out with was not very good. I mean, with 6 teams, they did okay, but with the other 8, not good. Not good at all. So I redid it, and one of the protected things, including Notre Dame and West Virginia, assuming that they're already in, was for Notre Dame and Boston College a protected game. So if Notre Dame joins the Big Ten and USC is a conference game, that opens up another conference game, non-conference game, I should say. And they could bring in a Boston College or whoever they like to play in the non-conference because now they don't have to worry about USC being a non-conference game. I don't know how much of a factor that is for Notre Dame. I don't know because the wild card in all this that people are forgetting is that in Notre Dame's contract with the ACC, it specifically and explicitly says if Notre Dame joins a conference between 2036, it has to be the ACC. That is in their contract. It's in their contract. That's not made up. That's real news. Go look up Notre Dame's contract. I don't know how you would Google Notre Dame's ACC contract, whatever. It specifically says if Notre Dame were to join a conference in football, because they're a member in other sports, it has to be the ACC. I don't know if there's a buyout for that or if there's a loophole for that. That's just what I know. Okay? That's just what I know. If they join a conference, it has to be the ACC before 2036. That's why out of all the rumors that I'm hearing, The biggest one that I've heard the most for 8 months is Notre Dame and West Virginia to the ACC. And today, of course, with UCLA and USC going to the Pac-12, you're going to hear a lot of stuff because this opens up a bunch of things. So this is one of those days and one of those weeks, to be honest with you. This entire week, you're going to hear a bunch of things. And it's going to be tough to figure out which one is true. I'll tell you one thing that is true that you're going to hear. Washington and Oregon to the Big Ten. That one is true. That one's going to happen. Okay? Make no mistake about it. Don't discard that one as another rumor mill thing. That one's going to happen. Another thing that I'm pretty confident in because I've been hearing it over the past, 6 to 8 months and then seeing the stuff that I've seen is West Virginia and Notre Dame. Now, could that change? Yes. But I'm confident in that because of the sources that I've heard talk about it. Brandon Lester, 499 Super Chat. Appreciate you, bud. How long before the ACC pulls the trigger and expands? If they lose Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, or Miami, they are the next Pac-12. I agree with that. And that's why I'm very inclined to believe first of all, the source that I have for Notre Dame and West Virginia is a really good source. So right off the bat, I believe him. Okay. The next thing is what you just said. If the ACC does nothing, they're going to get picked apart. The ACC has to do something. They have to do something. Otherwise, yes, they will lose Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Miami, Virginia Tech. The list goes on. They'll lose a lot if they don't do something because they have to get out of this current. The biggest thing about this is they have to get out of this current TV deal. The way you do that is add members. That's what gets you leverage to renegotiate a TV deal and gets you the loophole of adding new members. The current TV deal is based on current members. You add new members and you have to renegotiate because it doesn't include those new members. And that's why the ACC is trying to get Notre Dame and West Virginia. And the biggest rumor mill going on right now is Notre Dame to the Big Ten, Notre Dame going to the SEC, Notre Dame going to the ACC. I would roll out the SEC. That's not happening, guys. Notre Dame's not going to the SEC. Not happening. You're getting confirmation right now. That's not happening. The two conferences that have a chance at Notre Dame would be the Big Ten and the ACC. And the move that the Big Ten did today, well, it's not official yet, but it's going to be in the next 24 hours. UCLA and USC was part of it was to get Notre Dame. If they don't get Notre Dame, that's still a huge win for the Big Ten. Huge. Think about it. The LA TV market, especially when USC is good. What about when USC and UCLA are good at the same time? LA is a top 5 biggest city in the United States. They have a population that's bigger than most states. So that's a big win right there. If the Big Ten gets nothing else, massive win. But part of it was hoping that they can get Notre Dame. The only thing that gets in that way is what I was talking about earlier. Part of Notre Dame's contract with the ACC is if they join a conference, it has to be the ACC. So here's what I think happens. I do think that the ACC is going to get Notre Dame and West Virginia. But the story doesn't stop there. Okay? That doesn't mean that the ACC can relax. This is what makes the most sense to me, all right? So Notre Dame, West Virginia joined the ACC, right? That means Notre Dame has fulfilled their contract. They have joined, okay? That part of their contract fulfilled. Now, if they renegotiate that TV deal, Notre Dame's like, I'm not feeling this. I am not feeling this. The Big Ten just got USC. I don't like this money. I'm going to the Big Ten. Whatever the buyout is, the Big Ten will take care of it. We're off to the Big Ten. That could happen. So we could be we could be looking at Notre Dame to the ACC just to fulfill a contract thing, and then they don't like the money, and they go to the Big Ten. Could be almost like a stepping stone. And then what for the ACC is the thing. That's the concerning thing for me. If that does happen, we better make sure the money's good enough. Because if it's not, and it's a stupid decision, then the ACC will get picked apart. So that the big win for the ACC is when they bring in Notre Dame and West Virginia, it will give them a better TV deal, and they'll probably be able to keep everybody. That's the biggest win. Even if they lose Notre Dame, and Notre Dame's like, we fulfilled our contractual obligation by joining, but we really want to go to the Big Ten. Maybe they feel like they fit better in the Big Ten. Now they have, USC as a rival in the Big Ten. That could happen. But the leftover is, they raised the TV deal for the ACC, and the ACC teams stay in the ACC. Because let me be really, really clear about this. Really clear. The teams that are in the ACC right now like being in the ACC. Okay? Do not get that twisted at all. They like being in the ACC. The problem is the money. They don't like the money that the ACC is making right now. Okay? They don't like it. So Notre Dame, West Virginia joining, and the TV deal is renegotiated, and it's much higher. Even if Notre Dame were to screw over the ACC and leave, the money that they're able to renegotiate for the ACC could be enough to keep everybody. So there's a lot of juggling balls up in the air and a lot of dominoes that are about to be pushed over. And whatever happens next determines whatever happens next, and so on and so forth. Now, some things are already going to happen, like what happened today. I called it. I told you. Oregon, Washington, they're going to the Big Ten. I'm telling you right now. Thank you, Conqueror 2001. And I like your name, by the way, because Hail to the Conquerors, hail to the Victors. Well done. $5 super chat. Greatly appreciate that. He says, with USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten, it is extremely unlikely that Notre Dame will join the ACC now. Looks like West Virginia will likely stay in the Big 12. Well, it doesn't mean that Notre Dame won't join the ACC. What it could mean is what I just said, is they join the ACC to fulfill that obligation, and then they are like, USC's over in the Big Ten now. We like some of the other teams over there. The money's better. We're gone. So I do think that Notre Dame joins the ACC, but for how long? Do they use the ACC as a stepping stone? That's the biggest question. Do they stay in the ACC, or do they bounce? And if they do bounce, how many years do they stay in the ACC? 1 year and gone the next? A couple years, 5 years? That's the questions that I don't know the answer to. Because, really looking at the Big Ten, if you really look at it from a rational standpoint, Notre Dame fits in the Big Ten the best. That's just facts, guys. They're like smack dab in the middle of the Big Ten. Honestly, I don't know why they ever got in cahoots with the ACC. I really don't. I really don't, because it didn't make any sense. Their best fit was in the Big Ten, unless there was pressure from the Big Ten saying, hey, join full-time or you're out. Now, if that happened, then obviously that's why. They have a contract with the ACC, but it doesn't include football. And here's another thing, guys. People forget this. In 2020, I just now thought about this. Holy crap. In 2020, during the COVID year, Notre Dame actually did join the ACC full-time. Why did I forget about that? So it's completely possible that they already have fulfilled that. And they could move to the Big Ten right here, right now. I don't know how the contract's worded, but that could count. But on the flip side of that, what I'm also hearing is the year that Notre Dame was in the ACC, which was 2020, they liked it a lot because they had a lot of success. They saw that the ACC was very, very winnable. And that's what started this whole negotiation for full-time football. Because the caveat to all this, guys, that nobody's talking about is playoff expansion. This playoff expansion is the engine that is powering all of this stuff. It is the engine that's driving the car, or moving the car, I should say. So it's playoff expansion. And the most likely scenario that what I'm hearing for the next playoff expansion is the 12 team. The ACC voted it down, but they said because of health issues and all this other stuff. But from what I'm hearing, they're going to agree to the 12 team. And with the 12 team, what you're looking at is the top 4 conference champions get a bye week. So in order to get that bye week, you have to be in a conference and you have to win the conference. Then you get your bye week. And then the first round, the next top 4 seeds get a home playoff game. That's the stipulations for the playoff expansion. So for Notre Dame to get that bye week, and Notre Dame's going to want that bye week. They want that recognition. They want that break. They want people to know they're playing one of the best teams in the nation. But in order for them to do that, they have to become a member of a conference. And they have to win that conference. And in 2020, whenever they joined the ACC, they saw how winnable the ACC is, so they could join the ACC, win the ACC, and get that bye week. So that also is a factor into a lot of the decisions that these teams are making as far as jumping ship. So the announcement today was UCLA, USC to the Big Ten by 2024. Does that mean in 2024 or before? My guess would be before. Same thing with Texas and Oklahoma. I think Texas and Oklahoma are going to officially join the SEC before 2025. Buyouts are not a big thing these days, and they actually shrink as each year goes by. Not by a lot, a little bit, but they do shrink. So I expect Oklahoma and Texas to be full-fledged SEC members, I would say by 2023. That would be my guess. It's not happening this year, so next year. Big Ten, UCLA, USC, same thing. I would say 2023. That's a good point. I'm not even sure if Notre Dame's an AAU member. That would be another caveat, although I'm sure the Big Ten would overlook it. Let me look that up real quick. I'm thinking they're not, but I'd have to look for sure. But they could also get that as well. Let's see. So here's what I saw. Because this is going to go back to the Big Ten, obviously. Let's see. How to become a member. What does this have to do with football? Don't really care. Currently, every member of the Big Ten, except for Nebraska, because they just lost their AAU membership. I'm literally reading it right now. So, no, Notre Dame does not have AAU, but this is what the site says. In order to expand the conference, the Big Ten would want any new school to be part of the AAU. The only exception to that rule being Notre Dame. So it doesn't matter whether Notre Dame is AAU or not. And this is specifically for new members. So Is USC and UCLA an AAU member? I don't know. I've heard they are. I've heard they're not. So let's get confirmation on that real quick. Hold on. I know they're tier 1, but I don't think that they're AAU. I might be wrong. No, I don't know. Full list. Minnesota, of course. Texas. Texas is AAU, by the way, guys. Oregon, of course. There you go. Oregon's AAU. Oregon's going to the Big Ten. Pitt's AAU. They could grab Pitt. Rutgers, of course. Cal's AAU. Wow. Stanford. USC is AAU, guys. Yes, they are AAU. Duke. UCLA. So both of those are AAU. And I just confirmed, by the way, that Oregon is. Now I'm looking for Washington. Washington is AAU. So there you go. There you go. Washington and Oregon are both AAU. They are going to, and I already knew that. Well, I didn't know they were AAU. I wasn't thinking about it. But I already knew that Washington and Oregon were going to the Big Ten before I looked that up. But now I know for sure they are AAU members. I'm telling you, expect the announcement that Washington and Oregon are going to the Big Ten in the next month, I would say. The order that they're doing this in, I'm pretty sure that it was because USC wanted the limelight, and Washington's like, you know what, whatever. All we know is that we're going, so it doesn't matter what order we announce. So I am 100% expecting Oregon and Washington to announce that they're going to the Big Ten in the next month or so. I would say definitely before the 2022 college football season. So then the Pac-12 has not a lot of teams left. I mean, you have Washington State, Oregon State, you have Stanford, Cal, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah, Colorado. Like I said at the beginning of this video, if you're an Oregon State, Washington State, Stanford, or Cal fan, worry. Stanford is AAU, by the way. But I don't know if they bring enough to the table for the Big Ten. I'm not sure. I think the Big Ten wants the biggest football brands. And Stanford has had stretches where they're good, but I'm not sure if Stanford is the one team out of those 4 teams that I would say has a chance to go to the Big Ten. But I would not say Washington State, Oregon State, and Cal. But Stanford a chance. But you still need to worry, Stanford fans. Sparta with the $19.99 super chat. Appreciate that, bud. He says Big Ten now needs to go get to. Wait, let me reread that. Hold on here. Big Ten now needs to go to 20. Okay. Add Colorado, Utah, Oregon, and Washington. That would be a. I like that comment, by the way. I really do. I think that's smart. I think they should. I agree with you. Because we could be moving into an arms race as far as, who can have the biggest, power conference. They're not going to be adding scrub teams like, I don't know, Marshall. Sorry, I had to do it. Marshall, Appalachian State, Coastal Carolina. None of those. Like current Power 5 members is who they would add. And what you're seeing is what Dabo was talking about, guys. So I made a video on this, but if you haven't seen it, Dabo made a video on how the top 50, 60 brands will break off from the NCAA and create their own league. This is a step towards that. That's what's going to happen. So what we're seeing is the Big Ten and the SEC are going to build. Then what's going to happen is they'll stay separate as conferences. I'm very confident. I'm very confident in saying they're going to stay separate as far as conferences go, but they'll operate as one. The Big Ten and the SEC right now are stockpiling. You know what? It's another video idea that just came to mind. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me write this down before it leaves my mind. This is how my brain works whenever it comes to ideas. If it pops in my head, I'm writing it down because I could forget about it. So give me 1 second. So how I'm naming this particular video I don't know if it'll be the actual title, but for the idea, it's SEC and Big Ten stockpiling for split, because that's what's happening. Okay. The SEC and the Big Ten, what they're doing right now is they're stockpiling. I don't think they'll stop at 20, by the way, guys. I don't think they're going to stop at 20. I think they could go as high as 30. I'm being serious. I think they could go high as 30, but 25 for sure. I'll say 25 for sure. So top 50, whatever. So they're going to stockpile to whatever number they're getting to, 25, 30, whatever. Once both of those guys, and they're probably it wouldn't surprise me if they're working together. I don't know this for a fact, but it wouldn't surprise me. I'm telling you right now, it would not surprise me. So what they're doing, they're stockpiling, and when they get to that number, whether it's 25 or 30, I would say 25 minimum, is they will break off from the NCAA, and they'll have their own rules and regulations and kind of self-govern. They'll appoint, a board, trustees, all that stuff to help with the decisions and all that stuff. The NCAA will have no say whatsoever over those top 50, 60 brands. So that's what I was talking about with Dabo Swinney, and I made a video on it. You can, once we're done with this, you can go watch that, and I've already talked about it. Top 50, 60 brand going to split off and create their own conference, league, division, whatever you want to call it. Split off from the NCAA, make bukus and bukus of money, straight up pay their players to play, no rules against that, and they're going to be making the money to buy the players. The one good thing about this is if your team makes the cut, you're set, because everybody's going to have that revenue. So you'll have the revenue to compete with the other schools that are in with you to buy those players, because that's what this is going to turn into. Basically, free agency, the next step to the NFL. If your team doesn't make the cut, you better hope that the teams that get left out create their own league and have their own national championship, because that's your only chance of having a national championship. I'm not sure if they'll schedule teams outside of their league, but if they do, you have no chance of winning that national championship. It's not happening. It's kind of like how the group of fives are with the Power Fives right now. If your team doesn't make the cut, you're not winning that national championship, because you're not going to have the money to buy the players necessary to win the national championship, because that's what this is turning into. Now, who makes the cut? That's the $1 million question. Well, actually, that's the $1 billion question. So right now, make no mistake about it, any team in the Big Ten and the SEC, you're safe. Good to go. You're safe. No worries. You're not going to get kicked out. And to the comment that I saw earlier in the super chat, that really sucks because of Illinois, Maryland, Rutgers, Northwestern. They ain't doing jack squat, and they're making the cut already. They're in. They're not going to get booed. It's not. There's nothing provided for somebody to get booted like that. So if you're a Northwestern fan, count your stars lucky, because you're in. Had you not been in before all this happened, you wouldn't be getting in. But you're in. So nothing to worry about. Same thing with Vanderbilt, South Carolina, which South Carolina is up and coming. They have a good coach. So, but we all know the history of South Carolina. It's not good. It's not good at all. Kentucky, they're on a hot streak recently, but overall, Kentucky has not been good in football. Great in basketball, but not good in football. So everybody in the SEC, you're safe. USC, UCLA, congratulations. You just got accepted. You're safe. Washington and Oregon, you're about to be accepted. You're safe. Everybody else, you're on the menu. And the teams, hold on, I actually had it written down. The teams that still have a chance, here it is. Group of 5 teams, I think you're screwed. But what's helped is Cincinnati, BYU, UCF. Who did I miss out of that? BYU, Houston, UCF, Cincinnati. You guys actually have a chance now because you're now in a Power 5. You're not safe. I didn't say that. You are not safe, but you're fine for now. You're in better shape. If you would have stayed in Group of 5, you're not making the cut. So you're on the list as well. So the teams that still have a chance, right? In the Pac-12, technically they all have a chance, but like I said, Oregon State, Washington State, and Cal, you three definitely need to worry. And if I were a Stanford fan, worry. But you have a better chance than Washington State, Oregon State, and Cal. But still, I would be worried if I were you. Arizona State, close. It's close. It's very, very close. I think you're in better shape than Washington State or Oregon State, but I don't know. Utah, Colorado. Utah's good. I think Utah will eventually be in the Big Ten. Colorado, you need to up your game, buddy. You need to up your game. Your football is looking horrible. Horrible. Utah's fine. You guys are getting hot at exactly the right time, okay? I think you'll make the cut, and I think eventually there's going to be a Big Ten and the SEC, okay? I think Utah will be in the Big Ten. Colorado, you got to up that game. You got to up that game. Up your value. For the Big 12, okay? West Virginia. West Virginia is good because we're a top 30 fan base, and we're right on the line. We could get bumped up to the Big Ten or bumped up to the SEC. I about said down, but that's geography. But as far as standards, they're both great. West Virginia's fine. They would make the cut. Let's see. Oklahoma State. You would be fine, especially right now during Mike Gundy. I think your brand is at an all-time high, to be honest with you. I think you're good. And I honestly think that the SEC would like the fact that you're, rivals with members already in there. And that's another thing with West Virginia. We were already on the platform. We were about to get an invite. ESPN swooped in at the last second and said, actually, we want you to stretch a little farther west. Go get Missouri. If you want this money, go get Missouri. So West Virginia's already been considered. I'm very, very, very confident that West Virginia would be in the SEC. Okay? All right, let's keep going. Kansas State. Better, but I don't know. I wouldn't be super stressed if I was a Kansas State fan, but if you were to make the cut, I would say you're Big Ten bound. Kansas, you can't rely on basketball forever, guys. This is not basketball. This is football. You need to be worried. But you might get accepted just because you're basketball. Who knows? I don't know what they're thinking. Iowa State, you need to be worried. Worried. Your basketball has gone, very up and down. But your football, historically, not good. Your biggest stretch of success has been under Matt Campbell, but it's starting to dip again. I'm not sure about Iowa State. I wouldn't say that they're going to miss the cut for sure, but I can't confidently say that the Big Ten would grab you. I can't say that in confidence. All right, let's keep going though. TCU, you're on the fence. I'll be a little worried. Texas Tech, I actually think you're safe because I looked at the fan base thing, and Texas Tech is number 2 right behind West Virginia in the new Big 12. So I think Texas Tech would actually get picked up. I'm not sure if it would be in the Big Ten or the SEC. Baylor's going to get picked up. You guys have done a lot to increase your stock. Well done. You have come out of oblivion to be one of the premier programs right now. In basketball, only a couple years removed from winning a national championship. In football, consistently playing at an elite level. If you go back and look at Baylor's records, every once in a while they'll drop to like a 1-11 or a 2-10, but immediately they bounce back and have a 10-win, 11-win, last year 12-win season. So Baylor, you got a good brand. You're at an all-time high. You're fine right now. You're good to go. What about the new Big 12 editions like your Cincinnati, UCF, Houston, and BYU? BYU's good. international brand. I'm sure they have a lot of Church of Latter-day Saints donors or boosters that would be more than willing to put out the money. BYU, you're fine. UCF, a little worried about, but not enough to say that you're not going to make it. I actually think you would make it. You would make it because UCF has the largest student body campus in the nation, and their football brand is getting better and better and better. They've already proven that they can beat the SEC twice. Remember when they beat Auburn when they went undefeated? Well, last year they added another layer to that cake and beat Florida. So they can show that they can compete on the SEC level, and I think USC would be a good financial contributor. You put USC on an even playing field with the Floridas, the Miamis, the North Carolinas, I think they would be able to compete at that level. They've been able to hold their own without those recruiting advantages. So I think USC would make it. Cincinnati's peaking last year. I have to see what they're going to do this year. They have potential. They made the playoffs, but they got obliterated by Alabama, so it wasn't a good playoff showing. So for me, the jury's still out on Cincinnati. Is there a chance? Of course there's a chance, but then there's Ohio State. How does Ohio State feel about it? They might be wanting to be the only team in that league from the state of Ohio. So there's the Ohio State hurdle you'd have to jump. But Cincinnati has potential. They're in a large city, not super large, but Cincinnati's decent. The only problem is they have to compete with Ohio State for fans, and they're going to lose that battle every day. So I'm very, very iffy on Cincinnati. A lot of people base their opinion on Cincinnati on the success that they've had. And they've had tremendous success. They're at their epitome. They're at their peak, right? But how much money can they make for somebody? I mean, 40,000 seat stadium, not really much room to expand that. I don't know if they're willing to build a new stadium, but the biggest question is, would they bring the Bucks? I don't know the answer to that. Lee Barton, I greatly appreciate the $10 super chat. No message attached, but I'll still show it because you support the channel. Appreciate that. So I'm not sure about Cincinnati. Houston is very interesting. I think they're on the same platform as Cincinnati. They're in a major city in the United States. I think Houston is the top 10 as far as largest cities. The problem with Houston, guys, listen to me. They have to compete with Texas A&M, Baylor, and TCU for a fan base. A lot of people wonder, why does Houston not have a bigger stadium? Why does Houston not have a bigger fan base? Why does Houston not get more support from their fan base? Because they're competing with bigger brands that actually have fans. Think about it. You have people that live in the city of Houston that are Texas A&M fans, that are Texas fans, that are, I guess, possibly TCU fans and possibly Baylor fans. The two biggest ones they have to compete with, Texas and Texas A&M. So Houston needs to get red hot and convince those lifelong Texas A&M fans, hey, Texas is a sinking ship. Look, they can't make a good coaching hire. Come on over to Houston. We're having success. Come help us fill this stadium over here. Be a Houston fan. That's literally the competition and the pitch that they have to throw out there for people that live in Houston. Because right now, as is, people that have a choice between Texas A&M, and Houston, they're not choosing Houston, even though Houston is more successful than Texas right now. Now, there's going to be at least 1 year, maybe 2 years, where Texas and Houston will go head-to-head. And maybe if Houston can beat Texas both times, that might swing some fans over to Houston. I don't know. But that would be my biggest guess, because literally lifelong fans we're talking about with Texas and Texas A&M. With Houston, I'm not sure, because they've just become a Power 5. Well, this month. Well, this coming month. It's not July yet. They will be a Power 5 member. So who knows? I don't know how the brains of Texas fans and Texas say, you know what? Let me highlight this comment real quick. I got to read this from Hummus Hero. Golden Blue Dude uses words that we need to look up in the dictionary. What? Uncle Lou grunts in monosyllabic sentences that make a chimp sound intelligent. That was funny. I had to show that. Well done. I really do say words you got to look up. Sorry. I try to keep it at a somewhat intelligent, mess that one up, intelligent level, to where I'm not using, a cuss word every 10 words. So, I try. But, yeah, Houston, I'm not sure about. So, on over to the ACC. This is where it gets really, really interesting, guys. Wake Forest, I don't think you make the cut. Duke, I don't think you make the cut. I'm very interested to see Duke basketball after Coach K, because in football, they're at the bottom of the barrel as far as people that claim to be Duke football fans. Boston College, I don't think you make the cut. I actually think Syracuse does make the cut because they actually have the second highest fan base, counting Notre Dame, as far as people that count themselves as football fans. Problem is they don't support their team. So I'm about to contradict myself right now. No, I don't think Syracuse makes the cut. They're great in basketball, but as big as their fan base is, they don't support their team. They have the second biggest fan base, and I got the numbers. Go watch one of my videos. Second biggest fan base, if you count Notre Dame, in the ACC, and yet they can't fill a 50,000 seat stadium in the Carrier Dome. That's bad fan support. And I know Syracuse hasn't been good, but even at the beginning, when everybody has hope, my team can go undefeated. Syracuse can't fill the Carrier Dome in game one, and they can't fill the Carrier Dome in big games. I think the last time they actually filled it to capacity was whenever they played Clemson and beat Clemson. What was it, 2017, 2018, something like that? I don't know. So I don't think Syracuse would make the cut because people are watching. Are your fans supporting you? Yes, you have a big fan base, but they're not supporting you, so you're not making money. Let's see. I already talked about – hold on. I got some of these out of order. I already talked about the Big 12 potential. Oh, yeah. Clemson. That's an easy one, guys. We all know Clemson is going to make it. SEC bound. North Carolina, you're good. SEC bound. Virginia, I know they're a little iffy, but they have more support than people realize. I think you're good. SEC bound. Virginia Tech, you're good. SEC bound. NC State, I think you're fine. SEC bound. NC State, if I didn't already say that. I think you're okay. SEC bound. Pitt, yeah, I think you're one notch below West Virginia, but I still think you're top 40. Big 10 bound and AAU, so you're good. Miami, no-brainer, SEC. So other than Wake Forest, Duke, Georgia Tech, you need to worry. Your fan support's not great right now. I know you're bad. I wouldn't say no for a fact, but a little iffy. But Wake Forest and Duke for sure. Syracuse, Boston College. I think all four of those teams would not make the cut. Lane Cornell, thank you for the $4 super chat. Fan base or revenue, which is bigger factor? Revenue. Great question. Great question. Best question of the day, actually. That's why whenever I gave out Syracuse's fan base size, that doesn't matter because their fans don't support them. It's revenue. And this is another reason that people don't realize because they don't look it up. Another reason why West Virginia is going to be fine because including Oklahoma and Texas, they're tied with Kansas as third in revenue. So West Virginia actually is a pretty good revenue producer. Once Oklahoma and Texas are gone, they'll be number one. Number one fan base, number one revenue. So West Virginia actually has a pretty good 1-2 punch. We have a top 30 fan base, and we're third in revenue behind Oklahoma and Texas. Once they're gone, we'll be number one. So West Virginia is going to be fine, guys. But I like the question, and a lot of people get that mixed up. Because if you go by fan size, you would say Syracuse is fine. But if you dig a little deeper, you'll see that their revenue is not good because their fan base doesn't support them when they're supposed to. So, Syracuse, you're not good. If all the fans that claimed to be Syracuse supported Syracuse, the Carrier Dome would be packed out every stinking game. Even, in mediocre seasons, maybe not in like a, 3-9 or a 2-10. But if they have a chance of getting to a bowl, that stadium would be packed out just because of sheer size if they actually supported their team. I mean, number one, the Carrier Dome is not a very big stadium. And number two, you've identified as the second biggest fan base in the ACC, counting Notre Dame. If you don't count Notre Dame, you're actually number one. Yeah, ahead of Miami, ahead of Florida State, ahead of Clemson, ahead of North Carolina. Mind-blowing, but it's true. So that would be the caveat to that. So expect this to continue. The Big Ten and the SEC are going to get bigger and bigger till they get to the number. I don't know if it's 25 or 30, but at minimum, I would say 25. Once they get to that number, have the teams they want. They are going to split off. They are going to have their own conference league, whatever you want to call it, have their own rules, make their own money, pay their players, and everybody in that upper division will have a chance at the national championship because they will all have the money to pay their players. And that's what it's all going to come down to. So the biggest question is, who's going to make the next move, and what's it going to lead to? So I don't know. That's where the water gets a little bit muddy because of the Big 12 and the ACC. How do they fit into all of this? Do they just get picked apart and then the remaining teams stay at the lower level? Do they get picked apart to where they get desperate and they merge? What about the Big 12 and the Pac-12? Do they merge? Or maybe the ACC, Big 12, and Pac-12 all merge and they become one coast-to-coast conference. That could happen as well. So you could have a conference that has, Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, Stanford, we'll say Arizona State, Texas Tech, TCU, Baylor, Houston. I'll go with Kansas State, Iowa State. Who else? Now we got to go over to the ACC. Miami, Florida State, Georgia Tech, coast to coast. Does it happen that way? I don't know. But if they do get picked down to that, then obviously Clemson's not going to be in that. So it would basically be the leftovers coming together to form the conference. Whoever the leftovers are. That could happen as well. A lot of things. Here's the problem, okay? Whenever big news happens like this, a lot of opinions, a lot of rumors are going to be thrown out there, and they're going to see what sticks. I've been saying for the past 7-8 months that USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington are headed to the Big Ten. Okay? I've been telling you that. I didn't know when, but I knew it was going to happen because of how much I trust the sources telling me. So now we know that USC, it's broke. The news has broken that USC and UCLA are going to the Big Ten. Expect Washington and Oregon to go to the Big Ten, all right? That part's true. That's going to happen. It's all this other stuff that we don't know about. We're hearing that Notre Dame has invites from the SEC, ACC, and Big Ten. I would venture to say that they're going to join the ACC at least for a little while, because from what I'm hearing straight from Notre Dame fans, you want to hear what Notre Dame fans are saying? Here's what they're saying. Notre Dame really, really, really liked their experience in the ACC in 2020. They liked the teams they played. The travel wasn't, too horrendous. And it showed them that the ACC was winnable. And the ACC is willing to allow Notre Dame to keep the NBC contract. And they still split the ACC money with them. Notre Dame made the most money in the history of Notre Dame in 2020, a COVID year. Why? Because the ACC allowed them to keep the NBC contract, and they split the ACC money. So that's what we're looking at, guys. All right. Well, I'm going to do more of these pop-up live shows for this conference realignment stuff. So if you want access and you want to be notified for sure for these live shows, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you'll be notified every time, especially those of you that have wandered in there and you're like, Golden Blue Dude, I've never heard of this channel. What's going on here? This is college football, guys. I live and breathe this stuff. I live it. So fair warning, if you are not a college football fan, do not hit the subscribe button. Don't do it. Bad idea, because that's all I talk about. But if you are, go ahead and do it. And once you do hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button as well. That way you know when I go live. And I'm kind of changing things up. Instead of like scheduled live shows, I'm going to do scheduled Patreons because, they are supporting the channel every day. But I'm going to do these pop-up lives for the big stuff. So it's going to feel extra special. It's not going to be once a month or anything like that. It's going to be more often than that, but it's going to be extra special. That's the best way I can explain it. When you make it, instead of making it, like once every Thursday or twice a week or stuff like that, if you do it whenever something important, then people realize you only go when something important happens. So when they see the alert, they're like, Golden Blue Dude's got something to say. It must be important. So that's how we're going to approach it. But, guys, I got to get off here. I am freaking hungry right now. Super hungry. It's dinner time right now. But I wanted to do this live show because this is just my personal opinion. I think the Big Ten getting UCLA and USC is a bigger deal than the SEC getting Oklahoma and Texas. I'm not saying as far as money-wise, I still think the SEC gets the bigger brands when it comes to that. But it's a bigger deal because the Big Ten will officially become the first coast-to-coast Power 5 conference. That's why it's a big deal. And it means nothing's off limits now. Geography means nothing. Before today, well, I already knew it, but before today, most people out there denied, UCLA, anybody basically in the Pac-12 going to the Big Ten or the SEC. It doesn't make sense, geography-wise. It doesn't make sense. Travel, jet lag, away games, all that stuff. It didn't make sense. Now that it's coming out and people are realizing, yeah, this is real, then it shows you, hey, this opens up everything. Nothing's off limits. All right? Nothing is off limits. Big Ten becoming first coast to coast. Now the next question is, what's the SEC going to do now? Hey, the Big Ten has decided to go coast to coast. The SEC could do something crazy like that, You never know. So I'm going to leave y'all on that. Nothing is out of bounds. And the last thing I'm going to say before I get off here, expect Oregon and Washington to head to the Big Ten. It's coming. Sorry I didn't open up the phone lines. I know people were asking for that. Next live show I will. I promise. I will open up the phone lines. But I had a lot to say today. I wanted to keep my train of thought and keep it going. So I love days like today, though, because I have like 10 video ideas just from that breaking news, just from that. So that's awesome. We're good for the next couple weeks. So there you go. Again, if you haven't subscribed to Golden Blue Dude and you're a college football fan, do it. You'll see. You'll like it. You won't always agree with me. I'm letting you know right now. You will not always agree with me, but that's what the comments are for, back and forth. And I try to talk to all my subscribers whenever they comment in the video. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go eat some dinner, but hopefully this cleared up a few things. Number one, Oregon and Washington. Expect it, guys, in the next month. Expect it. It's happening. And then the other biggest thing is this is building towards breaking off once they get to the magical number, whatever that is, breaking off and creating their own leagues. So there you go, guys. Y'all have a good rest of your day. I might go live again tomorrow, depending on the buzz. But we'll see. But yeah, big day. It's official, guys. Well, it's not official, but it's real. It's real. The official signing or announcement should happen in the next 24 hours. All right, guys? Y'all have a good rest of your days. That's how hungry I am. Y'all have a good rest of your Thursday. Forgot what day it was. Y'all have a good rest of your Thursday, and we'll probably see you again tomorrow. But in the meantime, enjoy my regular videos that I pump out every day. All right, guys?